Welcome back to another episode of Rob Sports Center. As you can see by the title, man, if you clicked on this video to hear my take about Tyreek Hill being the number one player in the 2024 top 100 list, then you're on the right channel. So, I don't have a problem with it. I really don't. Tyreek is a hell of a player. Tyreek has been on the top, has been at the top in terms of best receivers, in the game, since Mahomes took over, if you really want to be honest. You know what I mean? Because I was one of those people, originally, I thought that all Tyreek Hill was a speedster. I remember at the time when Tyreek Hill kind of started coming into his own, when Mahomes would start quarterbacking. I remember I used to be talking with people like, man, he just fast. He ain't all he got is speed. He not a good route runner, yada, yada, yada. But over the years, I have seen how much that he has progressed, you know what I mean? In terms of, not just only being a speedster, but in terms of his route runner. That's an aspect of his game that I feel that's highly underrated and it's overlooked because of the speed. You know what I mean? So I feel like they try to, speed a lot of times it overshadows other aspects he's good at. Not only just speed, but catching the ball too. You gotta think about it. In order for him to get the ball and to get these long runs, to be able to throw the peace sign up, he ain't taking handoffs. He catching them. So then he got sure hands too. I guarantee he haven't dropped a lot of passes in the last 4 or 5 years since he really been making noise. So I took the liberty, just in case some of you guys did not know, I took the liberty of writing down his stats from this past season. So from this past season, he had 119 receptions. He had 1,799 yards, and his average yards per catch was 15.1, and he had 13 touchdowns. And I think that he was on pace to break a record or to set a record at the probably was yards. 'Cause I think the most yards that a receiver had in one season, including playoffs and regular season, was Cooper Kupp, and he amassed he hit the 2,000 mark, and I think Larry Fitzgerald was next after that in 2008, if I'm not mistaken. But it's not just that. This is the thing. So I made a community post on my YouTube about who would you guys take over Deshaun Jackson and Tyreek Hill, and when you think about it, D-Jack he was a lethal deep threat. Yes, he most definitely was. You know what I mean? But if you look at a lot of Tyreek Hill, it ain't just him just catching the ball over his head and walking into the end zone, man. A lot of that time, it's routes that's through little short routes. And D-Jack did the same thing too, but I feel like Tyreek Hill does it more, more consistently. But it's not just over the top passes, man. He catching passes coming off of slants. He catching passes coming off of hitches. Like when the ball touches Tyreek Hill's hands, it's like the whole defense, everybody locks in on him, because that's the type of playmaking that he brings to the field. You know what I mean? It's like with Tyreek Hill, you got to rally to the ball, because if you do not rally to the ball, if the first person missed Tyreek Hill, 9 times out of 10, that's either a touchdown or that's a hellified game. You know what I mean? So it's like he eats up so much attention. So I mean, if you're going based off of the stats, right? Like I said, 119 receptions, 1,799 yards, 15.1 yards per catch on the average, 13 touchdowns. There's probably been receivers that's had better seasons than that in the past. You know what I mean? But when you look at it, those are phenomenal numbers. You know what I mean? Considering that the Dolphins had little things going on with the team in terms of injuries and things like that. So it might was times where his productivity kind of took a step backwards, just because, at one point, they kind of abandoned the run game. You know what I mean? And then it's like, okay, if you're not really running the ball, it's more predictable to stop the pass, because y'all not really successful running the ball. So 9 times out of 10, y'all are going to end up passing, and it's easier to defend something when you know exactly what's coming 9 times out of 10. You know what I mean? But it's just the fact that, like, Tyreek Hill is that type of player that when he is on the field, you have to find him out. You have to see where he's at, whether he's lining up on the outside, whether he's lining up in the slot, whether he's lining up in the backfield, whether he's lining up no matter where he's lining up at, you have to take consideration of where he's at, because that's just a game breaking aspect that he brings to the game. There's a lot of guys that touch the ball several times throughout the game, and you don't really, but with Tyreek Hill is every time he touches the ball, because he has the capabilities of taking a 5-yard pass for 50, 60 some yards down the field. You know what I mean? He got the capability of taking a 1-yard wide receiver screen, cornerback miss a tackle, that's a straight shot to the touchdown. You see what I'm saying? An 80 some yard touchdown. So he has that capability. So, it's like, and like I said, I'm not saying that that alone should be why. But like I say, if you're looking at stats, those are phenomenal stats, man. Like it really is. And then when you factor that in too, like I say, some people might say Mahomes, he should have been number one. Well, you got to think about it. Mahomes statistically didn't have that great of a year. Some people might say Joe Burrow. Well, you got to think about it. Joe Burrow was hurt majority of the year. Josh Allen, he didn't have too good of a year statistically. So a lot of those guys kind of took a dip this past season. You know what I mean? So I think it's good too, because it's like, in my opinion, I think a lot of times that the quarterback just unanimously just gets the top number one seat, regardless. Like if his stats aren't up to par, they still just give it to him. It's almost like, like offensive player of the year. Like you don't really see too many other people getting these awards. So I think that we should recognize when people are balling. Like I say, these are balling stats to me. Y'all can hit me in the comments and probably be like, well, Jerry Rice had this many in this season, or Megatron had this many in this season. And I'm not saying that that's diminishing any of those guys who might have had a better season. Just top 100 wasn't around at the time. But in my opinion, I don't see nothing wrong with Tyreek being, number one on the top 100. You know what I mean? But let me know what you guys think about that down in the comments. If you feel the same way, you know what I mean? You can be like, yeah, I feel the same way, but and you might can help me. You might can elaborate on something that I might have missed, and I can go back and be like, okay, yeah, nah, that's another reason why. Or if you don't, you can say, well, I disagree with you, Rob, and this is why. I'm all for it. Whether it's you agreeing with me or disagreeing. That's what makes this fun, is the interaction with you guys. But that is it for this video, man. If you guys did enjoy this video, do me a big favor, man. Smash that thumbs up button. Also, too, if you're new to the channel and you have not already, make sure you subscribe. And when you subscribe, click that post notification bell. That way you be notified every time I upload. Because just like I say in every single outro on top of this one, what the GOAT Drizzy Drake say? I got these videos coming back to back. I'll see y'all next video. I'm out this thing. Peace.